It's CSB TV's Rewind.
You're watching CSB TV Rewind. On today's episode, we have Colin Darke from The Artist Within, Darren Michael Boyd from Musical Interlude, and Nancy Christie from Writer to Writer Interviews. Let's start with Nancy Christie from Writer to Writer Interviews. Okay, so you recently written and published a book called Peripheral Visions. It's filled with a few short stories. One of the short stories is actually called Peripheral Visions. So why did you choose to name the entire book according to the one short story as opposed to all of them? I mean, as opposed to another one, or as opposed to just giving it a name that has nothing to do with any of the short stories?
Part of it is because the idea of peripheral visions, which is something that you see out of the corner of your eye and you may choose to ignore it when actually it's something that you should follow. That's more or less a theme that runs through all the short stories in one way or another. The other thing is I thought it was an intriguing title, you know, Peripheral Visions. It's kind of like, what's that about? And it's also the same thing I did with actually my first collection, Traveling Left of Center. The title story, there's a story in it called Traveling Left of Center. So it's just, I don't know, I just ended up with it. It sounded right. When the collection came together, it wasn't that I decided on a theme, decided on a title, and then wrote the stories to fit. I write a lot of short stories. I just write a lot of short stories. So I started looking for short stories among the ones that were done that fit that idea of peripheral visions and following what you want to follow as opposed to what people tell you you should do. And so, you know, all the ones I put in there sort of all hung together in one way or the other, following that same theme. And it's funny because I'm actually working on another collection now. I'm about a third of the way. It's called the title of the collection is Doors and Windows, which came from a short story I wrote, which is called Doors and Windows. And so now I'm going back through all my short stories, looking for stories that are about doors, windows, because, you know, a door can lead you in, a door can shut you out, a door can be access, it can be an exit. You know, a window can be a way of showing you what other opportunities there are. So I'm working I have a lot of, I didn't realize how many short stories I had sitting on my computer that I haven't even tried submitting anywhere. So now it's kind of like, all right, let me go through these. Yeah, that would fit. So now let me take it out. Let me dust it up. Let me see what it needs. And maybe I'll end up with another collection. You know, it's just kind of fun to do. It's a nice break from my regular job of copywriting. So.
Coming up next, we have Darren Michael Boyd from Music Interlude. But first, let's go to Colin Darke from Artist Within. How did you find the artist within you? When and how, or did it find you?
I would say it found me. I have been obsessively drawing and creating art since I was probably five or six. I come from a family, so I'm an attorney also. I come from a family of artists and attorneys.
Okay.
I'm the youngest of five, and I combine both, but my mom was always kind of a creator and exposed me to a lot of fine arts. And then I have an older sister. One of my older sisters is an artist also. And I just have a lot of memories of drawing and creating art with her. Our styles are very different, but both of us have always had a passion for creating. And it's just something that's always been a part of who I am. And really, I remember once in law school, there was a little period where I didn't create something for probably 6 months. And that was probably the longest period of my entire life, because my undergrad is a Bachelor of Fine Arts with an emphasis in watercolor painting. And so I created a lot every day. And I realized like art really helps me with my stress and feeling whole. And so like from that period forward, I just force myself, even if it's something little, like I have to draw and do something every day just to like really be true to who I am. So really since then I've been making sure I've been doing it every day. And then what you saw was kind of part of, with social media, I started making sure I was like videotaping and sharing videos of what I was doing every day, even if it's not perfect. Where with Instagram and Facebook, I used to really focus on ensuring whatever I created was perfect, which there's no such thing. And now like videotaping it and just drawing what I find fun has been part of the process and very rewarding.
So what is your earliest memory of, what is your early memory of music in your life, knowing that this was something you are supposed to do, the gift that you have?
Well, right off the start, when I was about 7 years old, I got my first Alice Cooper and Kiss records, and that just changed my life. Even at 7, I knew that something about the energy. I mean, of course, there were the superhero-like theatrics and all that, but something in the music, the whole thing, I just felt drawn to it. It's show business after all. I mean, after that, again, to David Bowie and Queen and Rush and all the, like, just music never stopped. And I still to this day discover new music all the time. So I'm not just a musician, but just such a fan of music. I love all kinds of music. That's something that started really young. And in fact, just even as I'm saying this, I'm thinking even before the Kiss records, I had one of those little Fisher Price record players, the kid things, and I was listening to some Disney records over and over again. So I was already just drawn to music and that sort of magic. But I think it was all over when Alice Cooper came along and corrupted my life.
So you're in the genre of rock and roll, and from starting in the 80s at least, the definition of rock and roll is, okay, 2 guitar players, maybe a keyboard player, a drum player, and then your front man, who is the guy all the girls come to see.
Yeah.
But when you sent me when your agent sent me that the link, and I was listening I didn't even read anything. I just pressed play, and I'm standing there waiting to hear someone sing.
Okay, yeah.
And I'm waiting and I'm waiting. Finally, I heard God say, "Would you read the site?" And it said instrumental, and I was like, "Oh,
yeah."
Okay, so I'm not going to hear anybody sing." And so, as I said, rock and roll, they're expecting to see that front man who is, even though the rest of the band is there, that front man is the man everyone cares about.
Yeah.
Did you receive any discouragement from people who said that's not rock and roll, you need to hire a singer? Or were people okay with it?
Well, so far everything's been very positive. I mean, one way to look at it is when you put something out into the world, you don't really need anybody's permission, right? You put something creative out there, and if people are like insistent they want to hear a singer, there's lots of music out there they can listen to. This is an alternative, and it is different. And I've been writing songs with lyrics, with singers in bands my whole life. It's only been the past couple of years that I kind of took this path, I guess, and it's been very successful. It's been very well received, and so that's why I make a second album, because I feel like it's a chance to be really creative. And but you're right. I mean, you have to look at it too. Like, I'm putting myself, everything on there is me. So either if you like it, then great. If you don't, well, that's my fault too. But
Well, I asked only because, like, I didn't have a problem with it, but I know when you're doing something that's not normal or the trend or something that's different from what people are used to, instead of giving time to see, experience it, because they automatically want to throw it away, say that's wrong, you're doing it wrong, that's not the way to do it. And so I just was wondering if you had people telling you don't do it. But I'm glad that you've received mostly positive feedback.
Yeah. No, and one of the things now, I find it weird when people say, oh, there's no good music being made out there. It's sort of a really sad blanket statement to make, and it's insulting to those who are creating music now. And I think I'm all for nostalgia. I mean, like, I grew up on the giants of music, and I love listening to that stuff too. But those guys were all great because they did something that was different. The B-52s, Meatloaf, just pick anybody, and all of those people that you remember were doing something that was different. They weren't doing cookie cutter stuff,
And that is all for this episode of CSB TV's Rewind. To watch full episodes of these CSB TV shows, click the links in the description.